So, what was he like?
Mr. Gray will see you now. He was really smart, very intense.
Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. We're all here. Christy, Alonzo, Matt, and Ben. It is the film that everyone, and by everyone I mean women, have been waiting for.
Kingsman. No.
50 Shades of Grey. Christy will describe.
50 Shades of Grey is a very traditional romantic story of boy meets girl, boy seduces girl, boy makes girl sign a non-disclosure agreement, boy ties up, blindfolds, and spanks girl. But she kind of likes it. Take a look.
I've always been good at people. I have a natural instinct for what makes a person tick.
You do realize that he hasn't stopped looking at you.
So you're a control freak?
I exercise control in all things.
It must be really boring.
I'm not the man for you.
Why won't you let me in?
I had a rough start in life. That's all you need to know.
Why are you trying to change me?
I'm not. It's you that's changing me.
I don't know if I can be with him the way he needs me to. Say I did stay. What would happen?
Okay, you know, we always say that we want major studios to make films about women, directed by women. We should have been more careful what we asked for.
You guys, you know what? I'm going to just guess here that I'm the only one who's actually read this book.
You are correct.
I've read all 3 books, I'll admit it. I dug this movie and I am not ashamed. And part of that is because it is a vast, vast improvement over the book.
Why did you read all 3 books?
Well, I read the first one because I knew there would be a movie
She was
about
tied
it.
up. No, she's good about reading the books in general.
Because I'm a professional, damn it. No, because I read the first one because I knew there would be this movie. And then there's this cliffhanger. As there is in the movie, there's a cliffhanger ending. It's very true in that way. I'm like, well, I got to find out what happens in book 2. And then 2 books in, I'm like, I'm invested.
Then they've got you.
I'm invested. I gotta look at.
I would not describe it as a cliffhanger.
If you don't know what happenens.
And that I would have liked to have hanged them off the cliff. Yes.
It ends very abruptly.
I was so pleased. I was like,
You're like, oh, it's over?
Oh, it's over. It was fantastic.
But you know, I gotta say, since you guys have not read the book, you don't know how terrible the book is. It's repetitive, it's inane.
I read a little of the book.
Then why'd you keep reading it if it's so bad?
Because I want to know how far she would push it. Truthfully, I want to know how far she would go. But Kelly Marcel, who is a screenwriter, has done like yeoman's work and deserves an Oscar nomination just for Most Improved. Because she's taken all of the inane interior shit out of it, but kept the stuff that like the fans are gonna want.
Right. Look, I have no doubt that this is probably an improvement over what's on the page, but that doesn't justify it being a movie because, frankly, it just. How do you take a movie that's about sex and make it this boring? I mean, it's
really dull.
It's so fucking dull. The one cool idea this movie has is that it's about a sub who outdoms her dom. Like, this is Revenge of the Bossy Bottom, because he has this very clear-cut thing of what he wants to do and his whole agenda of, you know, like whips and whatnot. And she is constantly outsmarting him and getting her way and making him, you know, do what she wants. But the movie has no interest in that power dynamic. It's all about, why can't you be normal? Why can't you lock up your red room and become a soccer dad?
Not true. She doesn't want him to take that part out. She likes the red room.
But she's always saying, like, why can't you spend the night with me? Why can't you be more normal? And all he has to say for himself is, I'm just that way. That's just the way I am. Which is bullshit. And the movie depicts BDSM as something that only damaged people do, which is
right. To your point about the way he's talking about, this is just who I am. That would be fine if the movie was honest to that, but it doesn't. And I get that this is probably what the book does, but there's clearly something in his background. So the movie flirts with this idea of like he's been abused and some awful shit has happened to him, and that's why he's into this. And I think that kind of does a disservice to this community. Now, I want to say what this movie does have going for it. It's got a great soundtrack. Right, the music in this movie is great, and there's one good scene. It
is the laziest fuck soundtrack ever.
I thought the soundtrack's good.
It is so for like suburban dads thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna spice things up," putting on the 50 Shades soundtrack.
What are you saying?
Basic.
This movie was boring. I had a couple of Moscow Mules ahead of time. It didn't help at all, which I was hopeful that there might be something interesting. I'm shocked that a movie that can have this much sex in it is this boring.
I thought the sex was sexy.
The sex was sexy, but everything in between it. First of all, it's 40 minutes before anyone gets naked, right? And I'm just like checking my watch.
That's called character development.
But that's the thing, they don't develop the characters. To me,
what characters?
There's no chemistry between the leads, and there's no chemistry with the way they're written. Like, I don't feel that they sell that relationship and the interest between the two of them at all. The only interesting scene is when they're negotiating on the table.
That's an
like,
interesting scene.
That's a good scene. And if the whole movie was that sharp, then you'd have something to really like go home.
I don't think
do
what you said
too,
is right, Christy. That it's clear that she likes the Red Room of Pain.
She comes to like it.
I think because you know that she does, but I didn't see that in the movie.
No?
It's unclear. It seems like what she liked were the times that they were together in a more traditional sense. That's what
I think
she
there's
liked.
aspects of it that she likes, but then there's a speech towards the end. There's a moment in which she says that she at least implies that she's got a serious problem with what he wants to do to her.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
at best
she's
she seems like what Dan Savage would call GGG. Like, she'll put up with it because he likes it, but I never get the feeling that was her.
But now let me say one thing that
As we all mansplain this movie to
I know.
Sorry.
that I did like this. What I liked about it. And so in a sense, I'm going to come in surprisingly low, considering that I thought she was lovely.
She's great.
And really good and sort of expressive and interesting, and I thought significantly weighed down by him.
Jamie Dornan.
I thought Jamie Dornan. I will not speak his name. I thought that he was, he's handsome and he's rich, so I get why women would be into him, and he's wildly successful and famous.
What does he see in her? Right, I never got that. She's such a
I just mean there's nothing.
But that's it, because he thinks she's going to be an easy submissive for him. When she comes stumbling into the office, she's on her hands and knees.
I know,
the
which
first time he
secretary
sees
did it
her.
better.
Right. So if he sees her as meek and malleable, and she's beautiful and kind of sexy,
So fine for the first conquest, yes, but then for him to become so entranced and bewitched by her, it's like, by what? She's such a nothing character.
Because he thinks she can't have him. He thinks he can't have her, rather. She's not that easy.
I thought her independent of him was like, I thought there was range there. There was some complication. We know much more about her life than his life and what kind of person she is. And I get why someone sort of seemingly, there's a degree of, she's absolutely beautiful, but she pretends that she's mousy and doesn't know how to be sexy. I can see why this would be exciting for her. I still did not get anything about him at any point during the movie.
So it's through her perspective. So I think partially this is intentional because he's a mystery to her. He remains a mystery to her for a long, long time.
All right.
Having said that, Jamie Dornan is super stiff and not as, she keeps saying how intimidating he is, right? I didn't get intimidating from him in the film at all. I got that he's handsome. One of his eyes is bigger than the other. It's very distracting. His right eye is much bigger.
He's not as scary as the Hamburglar.
Right. He used to be an underwear model. He's muscular. He's got that like pulling off the shirt with one hand thing down. I guess he's sexy. But I did envision other actors in this role who would have had a much stronger presence.
Charlie Hunnam is like,
played it.
Yeah.
he would have been better.
Who would have been great in this movie? I know he's too old, but 10, 15 years ago, put Billy Zane in this movie.
Yeah.
You'd have a totally different movie, and I think it would have worked.
Yeah, it would
he
be
would have
called
sold
Red Shoe Diaries.
Well, but he would have sold, like there's actors out there that could have sold that level of menace and sexiness, and I think Dornan doesn't. Maybe that's part of it. I think what we're zeroing in on here is that if you read the book and you enjoyed the book, you're probably going to dig this. But for those of us that are coming into this cold, I know for me, I couldn't get past like the Twilight elements, knowing
it began as Twilight.
Well, right, but I kept like that. That was hard to escape. Like,
He
okay,
even saves her in traffic at one
right,
point.
like, oh, okay, it's Bella and Edward, and the friend that the vaguely ethnic friend. Like, all right, that's the Taylor Lautner character.
Here's
and
the
her parents are
moment
divorced.
that really bugged me was at one point she finally challenges him. Like, do your worst. Give me the business.
I didn't understand
Here's a guy who's got this Home Depot of whips and floggers and whatnot, and he even like goes past the rack of like floggers, past these sort of metal-studded, really scary ones, and gets a plain one, spanks her 6 times, and that's it. I'm like,
I didn't understand.
That's it? That's the
Spanks
worst
her
you
really
got?
hard 6 times.
I got it.
That's not spanking. That's beating.
Bring out the carved ivory dildos or something like that. 6 spankings is bullshit.
It is an R-rated movie.
But hang on, her
Yeah,
request for that and then his execution of it. I didn't understand that whole thing. I didn't understand why she thought she needed to see the worst of it. I understand where that came from. I thought that was all incredibly densely written and provocative, and a failure to be provocative, designed to make us think, oh, here we come to this big moment, and it was a created big moment that didn't feel real.
Well, in the book, I think she wants to understand him. She wants to understand what drives him. She keeps saying, let me in. I would argue that even though this is considered, subversive, transgressive, whatever, it's actually very traditional. I was kidding in my intro. It's very traditional in that they meet each other halfway.
No,
she opens him up to the possibility of love.
It's all about dragging him into this normalcy, and which is, again, I think kind of, if I were an actual BDSM person, I would be offended by this movie's assertions that A, it's practiced by people who have some fucked up past that damaged them, and B, that it's this bad thing that, oh, let's avoid it and all become Ozzy and Harriet. It's like,
that part is ridiculous and very unfair, but I would say that this movie is a lot more candid about sex and a lot more articulate about sex than most are. We should mention Sam Taylor Johnson directed it, a woman directed it, a woman wrote it. She is a longtime artist, and so it looks great. It is. Seamus McGarvey shot this. It's very glossy. It's very pretty. It's edited very well.
It's wealth porn before it becomes porn.
It's production designed to death. It's a beautiful film. I mean, so I was entertained by all of that. I just enjoyed looking at it for a long time. She's great. I think she's a star. She gives backbone and spark and spine and fun to a character who is mousy.
She's going to be around. She's going to do her family proud.
She's great. She reminds me of Melanie Griffith in her presence. In that there is a sweetness and sort of a quiet stillness that's very appealing.
I kept looking for, like, when she'd walk into a room, she'd look like Tippy walking into the burn.
So I did like this more. Maybe it is having read the book and that helped. I don't think it's because I'm a woman, because I'm not a chickish chick by any means.
No one was saying that.
You did. You saw it with a friend. You were giggling the whole time.
It's a good girl experience. Like go with your girlfriends and laugh.
I totally get that.
But also, speaking of laughing, this movie gets that the book is ridiculous. The movie is funnier than the book. The movie gets that the book is absurd and has fun with it.
I can't wait to read this
book.
So
do your numbers go?
I gave it a 3.3.
Right.
3.8.
I'm giving it a 6.9 because that's the kind of girl I am. So our average is a 4.3. Where is it?
It is about 40% on the tomato right now. It's been dropping.
Okay. Like Anastasia's pants. Bye.